Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome back. We're doing another Getting to Know series video here, this time focusing on, you guessed it, Cypher. Cypher is one of the agents in Valorant. He happens to be my favorite agent, and as you can see, he's of type Sentinel, which there's text there, but basically what that means is he's going to really excel on defense. His kit is really oriented around holding a point, delaying the enemy, taking the point, and really just gathering as much information as possible, which is really going to be useful to you and your team on the defensive side of things. Obviously, you have to play both sides. His kit can be very useful on offense as well. You just have to be a little more thoughtful, a little more creative with how you use it, and it's a little more active and a little more involved on offense, obviously, because you have to move around more. On defense, you can kind of stay put for a greater period of time. On offense, you're required to navigate the map a little more. So his kit is a little harder to use on offense, but certainly still very useful to you and your team. Taking a look at Cypher's abilities now, we'll start with his E ability, his signature ability, if you will. You're given this for free at the start of every round and the start of the game, and it is called Spycam, as you can read there. And what Spycam is exactly what it sounds like. It's a camera that you can place on a wall, and then by pressing E again, you can take control of it. And when you're in the camera, you have 180 degrees of rotation available to you, and you can see what the camera sees. You, as the Cypher agent, cannot move in that moment, so you want to make sure you are physically safe. But this is a really good way to peer around corners or just have a site watched even if you're not physically there. When you're controlling the camera, it does have a very bright red light on it, so the enemy can very easily see it, and it is destroyable. So when you're in the camera, it will probably be destroyed if an enemy can see it. However, when you're in the camera, if you left click, you can shoot a tracking dart at an enemy, and if it hits them, it reveals their location to you up until they, on their side, hit F to remove the tracking dart. Usually it's good for probably a couple seconds or so before they remove the tracking dart. One other important thing to note with Spycam, and this is true for several of his abilities, once you place it, if you hit F, you can actually call it back. Now, when you do that, it does enter into a cooldown mode, but it is a reduced cooldown. It's a 15-second cooldown as opposed to a 30-second cooldown if they were to destroy the camera. So you can position the camera, get some information, bring it back, and then move to a second location to reposition the camera if you want. All right, to demo his Spycam ability, first you press E, and you'll see that he takes it out, and then by clicking, left clicking, he'll place it on the wall. And now you can see there, F will pick it back up, so if I press F, it comes back to me. But to demo how to use it, once again we press E and click, and then from this angle, or you don't have to be in field of view, you can walk over here. I press E again, and that takes me to the camera. And from here you can see I can pivot left and right. You can actually pivot up and down as well. So you have 180 degrees of field of view in all directions. So you can basically see everything that's in front of the camera. From here you can also shoot a tracking dart by left clicking. And if that hits an enemy, they will be revealed to you until they remove the tracking dart. Other than that, it's really just useful for information gathering. You can look around, you can spot where the enemy is, and then you can back out of the camera by, again, pressing E. And then you can see when you're not in the camera, it's invisible. So hard for the enemy to find if you're not actively using it. The second ability of Cypher's we'll talk about today is going to be called Cyber Cage, as you can see there. And what this is it's a smoke, really, at the end of the day. But it's by pressing Q, you toss out this little disc that will land on the ground. And then whenever you look at it, it gives you the option to press F. When you press F, it activates the smoke, which is this large ring of kind of digital looking screen. And when an enemy walks into it, they are slowed and it makes a noise so you can trigger or listen for it and then start shooting. The other nice part about this is they have to actually walk through that cage twice, once to get into the center of it, and then coming out the other side of it, they have to walk through it again. And in both cases, it will make a noise when they hit the actual cage wall, making it very easy for you to tell if they're coming through. So it is a smoke, but unlike a lot of other smokes where people can easily walk through them if they want, and you wouldn't really know, this one it's very obvious if someone's coming through it, which makes it a really powerful delay tactic because a team has to be truly desperate to want to walk through it because it slows them and makes a noise. It does not reveal their location to you, but there is that noise trigger to give you a pretty good idea where they are. Unlike Cypher's other abilities, however, this one cannot be picked up. Once you throw it, it is down. Uh, like I said earlier, F is the trigger to activate the cage, whereas for his other abilities, F is the trigger to pick them back up. So this one you have to be pretty decisive with, or even don't set it up before the round, keep it on your person, and then throw it down when you need it. Now to demo his Cyber Cage ability, that's his Q, you can see you get 2 of these. And it's literally, you just press Q, and he tosses it out, it's a little disc. If you look at it, you can see press F to detonate. You do have to be pretty much right on it. If that circle isn't red, pressing F will do nothing. So looking at it, press F to detonate, and it turns into this cage. You can see the digital looking barrier, and if the enemy walks through it, it slows them. If you walk through it, nothing really happens. So throwing it again and detonating, you can see it's pretty good size, and it does block all sight. You can walk through it unimpeded. The enemy walking through it slows them and has a sound trigger. So very useful for doing things like blocking doorways. You can see even though that wasn't centered, it still blocks that entire doorway for me. So very, very useful ability for getting out of sticky situations or slowing down an enemy assault. The next ability of Cypher's we're going to talk about is, as you can see here, called Trapwire. It's his C ability. You get 2 of these as Cypher, and what it is a coin of sorts. And when you throw that coin onto a wall or the ground or the ceiling, it will form a tripwire between wherever you put it and the surface directly opposite it. Now that tripwire does have a limited range. It won't let you place it on a surface that's outside of that range, but it is really useful in places like hallways, in small rooms like a garage type thing. And what happens with that tripwire is when an enemy walks into it, it does 3 things. Firstly, and most importantly, it reveals their location to you. So whenever they hit it, they will light up bright red. You can see them through walls. You'll know exactly where they are. On the mini-map, it also shows you that your trap was hit. Secondly, it keeps the enemy there. So the enemy can't just walk through it. They actually have to turn, look at the trap, and destroy it. If they don't do that, when they try and walk away, it will ultimately hold them in place after a short distance. And then if they really dash forward, like with Jet's dash, it will pull them back. So it will keep them there until the trap is destroyed. And then thirdly, if they don't destroy the trap for whatever reason, it will stun them and then make it so they can only shoot even an automatic rifle at semi-automatic speed. So if for whatever reason they don't destroy the trap, they will be stunned and they will be very vulnerable in that moment. A couple other important things to note about the trap. It is destroyable, as I mentioned. They can destroy it before it's triggered. And as they approach it, it will actually reveal itself to them. If they're running, they won't react in time. If they're walking, they will likely react in time, turn, and destroy it. Now, that's not as bad as it sounds because you will get a notification that your trap was destroyed. And if you remember where you put it, then you still know at least someone was there. Secondly, similar to his Spycam ability, you can recall this. So you can place it. You have to rotate out of the point you placed it on. By pressing F and looking at it, you can pull it back to yourself and then save some money the next round or replace it again later. There is no cooldown on this, so if you recall it, you can immediately throw it back out somewhere else. So that's really useful to rotate, reposition, and also it is more expensive than most abilities, so it is a good way to also save some money at the end of a round if the round's over and you happen to be near one of your trap wires. Okay, next we're going to demo Cypher's Trapwire ability, his C ability, and you can see when I press C, he pulls out this coin after doing some fancy flip work. And with this coin, it's got a pretty good cast range. You can see I can cast it from all the way back here. And when you throw it, it forms a nice tripwire between where you threw it and the opposing wall. And then you can see as well, similar to the Spycam, if I press F, it comes right back to me. You're also able to throw it on the floor or the ceiling, and it will form a vertical tripwire of sorts. In a doorway like this, where it's pretty wide, this might not be the best strategy because enemies can walk right through it without hitting it, but it is a good way to change up the pace if you keep placing it in the same spot or even on the same wall and they figured it out and have started to destroy it. One important thing to note with this is if you place it too low, somewhere like there, the enemy can actually jump over it without triggering it. So it would really limit its effectiveness because they don't even have to destroy it in that case, so they can get by it without you knowing. In a case like this, Raze's Bomb Buddy can also trigger it, and then Raze could walk through behind it, again limiting its effectiveness to you. Similarly, if you place it a little higher, Sova's Owl Drone, same thing, can trigger it, again limiting its effectiveness. So you want to be smart about the height you place it at. You don't want to place it so low where they can jump over it. You don't want to place it so low where something other than an agent will trigger it. But you also don't want to place it somewhere obvious. So by far one of Cypher's most useful abilities, and there's a lot of creative ways you can do things with it, like place it on an angle, really mix it up, and then it really, really helps to gather information for your team. Alright, and last, but certainly not least, is his ultimate ability, his X, seen on the screen there, called Neural Theft. This charges like every other ultimate in the game. You get kills, you die, and you collect those orbs. You have enough of them, his ultimate is then available to you. His ultimate is a little harder to use than most in the game. The reason being, it requires a dead enemy to use. You can't just use it at the start of the round. You can't just use it whenever you feel like it. You need a dead enemy body, and you need to be close to it. But if you meet those criteria, this is one of the more powerful ultimates in the game. Because when you use your ultimate on the dead enemy, Cypher will throw his hat, and what it will do after a short time is reveal the current location of all the remaining enemy players on the map. It shows it through walls, it shows you exactly where they are, and it shows it on the minimap. So it's a really, really powerful ultimate in terms of gathering information. Alright, and to demo Cypher's ultimate ability, I had to actually go to one of my Twitch VODs because you can't actually use his ultimate in the practice range. So, watching this clip here, you can see a few of the enemies just died. So now I'm going to slowly walk over to Sage's body and use my ultimate. You can see he throws his hat, and then after a few seconds, the enemy's locations are revealed. And in this particular situation, even though I personally don't get either of the kills, it makes it very easy for my teammates to clean up the kills, secure the round win, and ultimately go on to win the match. So even though I didn't benefit from it, it's a really useful ability, just showing all of your teammates exactly where the enemies are. All right, and that'll do it. That's the complete rundown of Cypher and his abilities. Hopefully you learned something. He's one of my favorite agents to play. He's a lot of fun, and you can feel really, really confident on defense, especially with the intel you gather. And on offense, you can really protect your flanks and then go help your team. So he does take a little getting used to, but he's one of the best agents in the game, in my opinion, and man, is he fun to play. So hopefully you can take some of the stuff you learned here, go out, give Cypher a try, and gather information for your team. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more getting to know videos.